Hello and welcome back to a Palworld video. Today I'm going to be, I guess, kind of describing what I wish I knew or what I had hoped I had wished someone had told me before I started playing Palworld. I started playing the game basically at launch and I've been terribly addicted to the game because I have no self-control. But what I'm going to impart with you today is what I basically learned after 100 hours of playing the game. And I just wanted to give kind of like some tips for those of you that I guess are starting out and are considering playing the game, because in all honesty, your experience will be much easier than mine if you don't have a bunch of the BS or a bunch of the random stuff that happened to me at the start of the game. If it weren't already really obvious, when you start up Palworld, you're asked to kind of, I guess, begin and choose a world or choose like a location to build your PAL box. There's a couple tutorials that you're basically forced to do. They tell you to build a PAL box, pick up some stones and rocks so you gain the resources in order to build your workshop and then build a PAL box. But ultimately, the thing that it's telling you to do and decide on, especially really early, is that you need to decide on where you want to actually put your base. Now, if you're like me, you probably just place it down in front of wherever you decided to get the resources and you got your wood and stuff. But where you place your base is really important, just because where you have like your resources or what's close to you will inevitably end up deciding how easy or how difficult your early, mid, into late game will be. If you see the base that I have right here, I've chosen a really bad time to take a photo or show you guys it because it's nighttime, but it's right next to the Syndicate base. And a couple features of like this base that I saw was, number one, it's close to, I guess, there's like palladium on the side over there that you can't see, but I'm pointing towards over there. It's also really flat, which is really important just because this is a bit of a spoiler for a later section, but the interior design and the interior layout is really important. So having a flat base is really nice. It's also not too close to a spawn location. As you can see, there's like these, these teleportation things. Spoiler, a bit of a spoiler if you haven't unlocked these, but there are teleport beacons that you can teleport to, and having one that isn't directly on top of one is just a little bit nicer, just so you have more opportunities or more locations you can teleport to. But all in all, just in terms of location, it's nice to pick a location that is a little bit spread out, that is close to things, or like kind of center-ish to what you're interested in doing. In this case, I just wanted access to all different Pokemon, so I chose a location that was close to teleporters. It was also close to resources like rocks and wood and the palladium, and ultimately it was flat. That's pretty much all you need to know about base placement. Okay, so another thing that I kind of touched on earlier, but I didn't go too in depth with, was base layout. Now, there's like, 100 different ways that you could build your base, and ultimately, while there isn't any real wrong way to build the base, there are a lot of things that you should keep in mind when you're building a base. And the first is kind of pathing. A lot of these pals kind of have terrible pathing, or they get really easily stuck if you don't have like a direct path to where they have to go. Now, another kind of early mechanic that you'll learn early on when it comes to these pals is that you could pick them up and you can throw them at whatever you want them to work on. So like in this case, for instance, if I just pick up like this bird, which is ridiculous looking, by the way, if you wanted to say like have them work on electricity, again, sorry, a bit of a spoiler, you could throw them at the electricity generator, and I guess for whatever reason this is a rock, and they'll go do that activity. Now the issue is that if you clump everything together, you won't actually have that much room or actually be able to properly throw a Pokemon at what you want it to, or at what you want to throw it at. So then ultimately what you're stuck with is a really clumped base with a bunch of Pokemon that you aren't able to place. Now, if I backtrack just a little bit, the reason why I also said that being stuck as a Pokemon is really annoying is because although you are able to just, pull them out of the base right here, like take them out, although you could just take them out of the base and then put them back out and they'll just respawn right here. Ultimately, if they get stuck for long enough, or if you're AFK, or if you don't visit the base for long enough, they'll all get injuries, they'll all get starving, and then you unironically just have a bunch of Pokemon that are miserable, and then you'll have to buy or make medicine and then make them feel better again, which is, I guess, if you really love nursing your Pokemon back to health, you could do that, but it is more than anything else kind of frustrating and annoying, and it is kind of just a symptom of the pathing of this game. There is no vector, like ruler, clipping, or snapping, anything like that. So kind of what you get when it comes to building stuff, like if you want to build something, this is kind of all you get. There is no like ruler, there is no like snapping. There's like a couple, I guess, like directional things that you can look at, but it doesn't like snap, as you can see, close or next to anything. So you're kind of on your own with that, but just keep in mind then that because of that, you want a lot of open space, or generally speaking, you want open space just so that for utility's sake or for feature's sake, nothing gets kind of cramped. The Pokemon don't get squeezed in and they're all in good condition, as you can see right above. Okay, so the next thing that I kind of want to bring up, I guess just raise awareness for, is the importance of dungeons and kind of bosses in general. I'm in front of like the Rain Syndicate, which is again close to my base. As you can see, this is the tower that, again, sorry, spoilers, but this is something that you're going to have to beat as a tutorial mission. And right next to it is a dungeon that literally respawns, I think like every hour or something like that, like every couple, like I think it's like maybe 15 minutes. I don't know what the exact duration of it is, but as you can see, there's an Alphamon, which is indicated by the red horn like enemy symbol. These are really good not just for ores, but it's also really good for EXP. Now you can get the ores, you get the EXP, and you can also capture the area boss within these dungeons, which is crazy. But ultimately, the most important thing that you need to know about for some of these dungeon boss or some of these area bosses is that they give you a lot of EXP. Now, in addition to the EXP, like I mentioned, you sometimes have access to new, stronger pals, which is really helpful because when you're early on, all you're basically going to be using earlier on is just these chickpea things, which is, I mean, look at them. Come on. You know what I mean? Like, I would not trust my life with these things. Anyways, the main important thing about these is that number one, you gain EXP. And when you gain EXP, you have access to the rest of the technologies and stuff. These are all really important things that you obviously want to prioritize because then you gain access to Pokeballs, you get access to weapons, you get access to beds, etc. All these things are really important for progressing through the game, and that's why I consider, I guess, gaining EXP really important. One of the best ways to do it, like I mentioned before, is through dungeons, the area bosses, and I guess the repeatable boss encounters that you can do. And finally, the last thing that I want to put a lot of importance into, don't look at my stats because my stats are really bad, but it's the stat line. Now, the stat lines are really important, and if you haven't already heard, probably the most important stats that you can get in the game right now are either health, stamina, or weight. Now, you can have a healthy mix of all three. However, just to give a bit of a rundown as to what each does, health is your total health pool, which is fine. Stamina, it's your ability to run or climb. I believe it also affects your ability to like swing and I guess like hang glide and stuff like that, which is really important because obviously you want more stamina so you can keep doing it. Running and climbing is obviously really nice because you want to be able to climb up mountains and you don't want to fall off and get one shot. And finally, weight is really nice because as you'll soon find out, mining ore, stone, wood, any kind of resource is really important in this game. And although it is nice to kind of joke and meme that, haha, I can get the pals to do all my biddings and, you know, farm everything for me, ultimately, you're going to have to just sit there and farm yourself at some point. So ultimately, if you're going to be taking stuff out of one resource, out of one big machine and putting it into a chest, you're going to need the weight to hold it. Otherwise, you're just going to be kind of stuck and you can't move. Let me show you exactly what I mean by that because it literally happens to me all the time. Okay, so as you can see, I've got a load of Pokemon, obviously like working on like, you know, the mills and the stone, and they've got me 1,700 stone. Wow, super pog. And then I don't know if you can hear this or not, but I'm trying to move. So thankfully, and again, this kind of ties in with the whole base layout thing, I put my rocks right next to a chest so I can just easily deposit all of that. Same thing with the 2,400 wood that I have, and I can just easily deposit it. Ultimately, it's really important, again, to have number one, good stat lines in case if you don't have a good base layout like this and you want to play something different, but also just to have a good base layout so you can avoid needing to invest in stats that you don't really care for. Now, I know I didn't mention the work speed thing, and I do kind of want to bring this up. So on the server that I have right now, I'm playing on a multiplayer server. This one player on my server has 3,200 speed. It basically makes all recipes clears 95% quicker. Work speed is a niche but pretty decent idea if you are playing with some other players. Anyways, guys, that's pretty much all I've got when it comes to Palworld. I hope this helped you. If it did, make sure to like, comment, turn on the notification bell, subscribe. Make sure to check out the rest of my content. I think I should have either the exploit video or either before this or after this. I'm not sure, but make sure to check that out as well. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Have a great evening. Adios.